We are live in Las Vegas. He is Alex Gold. My name is Jake Asman. It's the Jake Asman Football Show presented by BetUS. We got a lot to talk about. We'll talk about the Chiefs three-peating in today's football show. Who are their biggest threats if someone is going to knock off the two-time defending champs? Let's go, baby. Jake Asman Football Show starts right now.
Oh, yeah. It's the Jake Asman Football Show. Brought to you by BetUS. Sign up now and triple your bonus. That's 125%. Let's get into some NFL football. Presented by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And here's your host, Jake Asman.
Yeah, baby. Thanks to BetUS for making this possible. We're here at Circa Las Vegas, where, of course, you have to sign up for one of Circa's two epic pro football contests. More on that as we continue. But Alex Gold is a longtime radio host in the Kansas City area. He's also a former coworker of mine. My first time ever in Vegas, when you and I were together at SB Nation Radio, we came out here for a Manny Pacquiao fight.
That's right.
Manny Pacquiao, Keith Thurman. It was a Radio Row setup at the MGM Grand. I had never been to Vegas before. And, you know, for lack of a better way to describe it, you took my Vegas virginity, Alex.
Well, yes, that is true. I'll go ahead and accept that. I'll accept that. Hopefully it went well, and you've built on it, man. It's gotten a lot better. But, yeah, Vegas, there's nothing like it, man. There's nothing like it. And that trip, that was what? Was that like 7 years ago?
July 2019, so 6 years ago now? Crazy.
It's been a bit.
But you already got the Vegas flu.
Well, so I had a great lunch, and I got a little pepper. And have you ever had Mexican hot chocolate?
No. I'm guessing you have.
Neither have I. Not saying it's bad, but here was the issue. So it's regular hot chocolate, but there's I don't know if it's cayenne peppers, but there's peppers in it. So I made the mistake. I'm like, oh, I'll just get a hot chocolate this morning. And it's Mexican cocoa, all right. It burns your throat every sip.
And then you had to do your show is normally mid-mornings. Now you're, 7 a.m. you're starting out here?
8 a.m. out here.
Okay.
So back in Kansas City, we're on 10 to 2. So here it's 8 to noon.
Oh, my God.
And so, yes, it was not smart to drink a pepper drink in the morning. That's my bad.
So you made it through the show, all right, but you're still feeling the effects.
We're good, man. You can't help but be good in Las Vegas. And this is our first time for contest weekend at Circa.
Yeah, it's a great weekend, and I certainly encourage everyone who is thinking about entering one of the two contests. We're talking about $16 million in guaranteed prizes for Circa Survivor and the Pro Football Betting Contest, so certainly check that out. Let me ask you this, though, because you guys are obviously the home of the Kansas City Chiefs. Do people have anything to complain about with the Chiefs? I can't even imagine rooting for a team that's already won 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. They've obviously won back-to-back. Every year Mahomes has been a starter in the league. You've at least been in the AFC title game. Do people ever have anything negative to say about the team right now?
I mean, look, spoiled, no doubt. I mean, no doubt spoiled. There's always something. You know how this any fan base. I don't care whether you're a Jets fan, whether you're a Chiefs fan. There's always something fan base will gravitate toward. But they're first world problems. I mean, we're talking during training camp this year about the number 2 cornerback. Oh man, nobody's emerged. Who's going to have to rotate in when they still have Trent McDuffie, who's one of the best cornerbacks in football. We're talking about some further down who's the number 2 running back. These are not real problems for most teams. And it wasn't always this way. I want to be clear in Kansas City. Everybody now thinks the Chiefs, they've just been this good forever. It seems like it's been forever, but there were many, many years. Matt Castle, everybody thought was going to be an MVP quarterback in Kansas City. And there were guys like Tyler Palko and Tyler Thigpen that were starting games. So it hasn't always been this way, but it's the golden era of Kansas City sports. There's no question. Football-wise, and honestly, even non-football right now with the Royals. So the Chiefs, the complaints are pretty far and few.
What are the biggest things that could potentially stop this team from, I don't want to say winning the whole thing because it's hard to, but why wouldn't I just assume the Chiefs are going to the AFC title game again?
Well, that part of it, it's hard to find anything for them to not get to the AFC title game. Super Bowl, as you said, it's pretty simple. You're trying to three-peat. It's never been done in the NFL. Staying healthy for 3 straight years to be able to be in that position is going to be really difficult. I think for Kansas City, if they don't get there, it's that their rookie left tackle, Kingsley Suamataia, ends up being a liability. But so far through preseason, he has not shown that he's going to be that liability. So, there's some injury concerns like any position for them. If they were to suffer an injury on the offensive line, I think they're thinner this year than a year ago. But Patrick Mahomes has one of the best, sack rates in the NFL. So he's good at making your offensive linemen look good. So I don't want to sit here and be like, they're for sure winning the Super Bowl. But you're right, Jake. There's very few reasons why you could say this team's not at least getting back to an AFC title game. Because even last year, everybody thought this team wasn't good enough, including in Kansas City. Like, oh, this defense is great, but the wide receiver core is not good enough. You can't overcome that. And then they go and have the toughest road through the playoffs in NFL history.
Well, just going on the road for the first time.
Exactly.
That was the other narrative. Well, Mahomes has never played a road playoff game, and it didn't matter.
It didn't. And so that's why, like, let's say we're sitting here a month or two into the season, and there's some flaw, there's some issue, whether it's the running game, whether it's the cornerback. Like, you're going to have a hard time convincing me, though, that they're not able to overcome that as the season goes on. Because last year, their offense was like the 13th or 14th best offense, but their defense ended up having a historical type of season for Chiefs fans. So it's a good time. It's a good time, that's for sure, in KC.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine rooting for a team that you just know every year you got a legitimate chance to win it all. Like, every year you've been watching Patrick Mahomes.
It's ridiculous.
You're a game away from the Super Bowl at the bare minimum.
But that's the power of having the quarterback.
Yep.
And Patriots fans relate to this. Obviously Jets fans right now are hoping that Rodgers can help them for a couple of years. But like, you go Caleb Williams in Chicago, right? They're all thinking that, all right, this is going to be their version of Patrick Mahomes. And I get it. I mean, that's the goal you're always chasing for. But it's one of those where I think Chiefs fans know that they're spoiled, but there's still times where it's like, what are you complaining about a week 5 loss? Like, regular season losses just don't mean anything in Kansas City right now. They just don't. The Cincinnati, they play in week 2 at Arrowhead, and Cincinnati
tough schedule to start the year.
Really tough schedule. Yeah, Jake, it's a really tough schedule
and
at Arrowhead as well.
Yeah.
So Ravens, Cincinnati in the first 2 weeks, and if they lose one of those games, just like they lost the opener last year to Detroit, people were panicking after that loss to Detroit, and of course, it's funny to look back at. So for other franchises, I think the games in the regular season are going to be more magnified. We joke in Kansas City that like week 2 is going to be the Cincinnati's Super Bowl coming to Kansas City, and it means a lot more for them in week 2 than it does Kansas City.
Yeah, no doubt. And we'll get this, specific teams that maybe like could threaten the Chiefs. But how do you guys view the AFC West right now? I mean, the Raiders are going with a journeyman and Gardner Minshew at quarterback. I think Harbaugh makes the Chargers better, but I don't know if he makes them great right away. Right. They're still lacking a lot of talent. And, you look at Denver. I mean, Bo Nix, like, he's a rookie, even if he's really good. Like, he's still a rookie quarterback. It will take some time. Like, it just kind of feels like it's, once again, like the Chiefs are going to win their usual 11 or 12 games and be division champs at the bare minimum.
I totally agree with you. I don't want to sound like a homer, but I think it's reality in the division. 100% with you on the Chargers. I think long-term, Harbaugh is going to be a really good coach there. He's always had success, but not this year. They gutted that roster. They needed to. They had an aging roster, and they moved out Keenan Allen. No cap space, got rid of Keenan Allen, and Austin Eckler's no longer there. Some of the pieces on defense that everybody's been talking about for years, they're elite players. They just haven't lived up to it. So I think this year is kind of truly a rebuild type of year for Harbaugh and the Chargers. The Raiders, I mean, come on now. Gardner Minshew, he'll upset somebody one week, and he's capable of doing that. Like, I think the Raiders might beat the Chargers week 1, which is a slight upset. But long term, this season, like, I think Devontae Adams gets traded midseason.
I think he's a Jet if the Jets get off to a good start and they need a receiver.
I could see it. And then the Broncos, I think Bo Nix fits Sean Payton's system. It helps when your coach is actually invested in your quarterback. We know Sean Payton did not want Russell Wilson, and that also isn't going to help you out. So I think the Broncos will be better than people believe, but the Chiefs are going to win this division again, and they'll be I guess 2 away from tying the Patriots for their AFC East run that they had. I mean, it just kind of adds to the dynasty that they're in. But the AFC West is not going to be competitive.
When you look at like the biggest threats for the Chiefs to repeating, we'll start with the AFC. Like, do you automatically look at Lamar, Burrow, and like Allen, or do the Jets concern you because of how well they played you guys last year? If Aaron Rodgers is healthy, he doesn't need to be great with this defense to, at least be a 10 or 11 win team that won 7 last year with no quarterback. How do you view the rest of the competition in the AFC?
I can tell you in Kansas City, Cincinnati is still considered the biggest rival.
Because Burrow's been the only one that's been able to beat you guys, right?
And that's what it is. Burrow beat Mahomes in an AFC title game. Nobody else has been able to do that. So that earns a level of respect. I have questions about Cincinnati. I think we all do. Can Joe Burrow get through the whole season? Yeah. I mean, that's key. I think, losing Tyler Boyd's not great. T. Higgins, can he stay healthy? There's questions on Cincy, but they are no doubt the biggest threat to the Chiefs rival-wise. After that, I mean, the Ravens will be there, but Lamar's record against Mahomes, it's not.
Just in the playoffs in general, he has not been good.
He hasn't beat him. I know win-loss record is not, quarterbacks, I don't really buy into that totally, but in the playoffs, I lean into it more. And last year, if you couldn't get it done last year, that's my struggle. If you couldn't get it done last year, if you were Baltimore against the Chiefs when they were in your building and they were so vulnerable, why do I think this year's it? So to answer your question directly, Cincinnati, I think, is the biggest threat. Baltimore will be around there. I'm still not selling stock on the Bills. I know a lot of people are. To me, when you have a top 3 quarterback in Josh Allen, you're always in it. that division is hard to get a grasp of because you said it with the Jets. Like, yeah, if Aaron Rodgers returns to what he was 2 years ago, well, then the Jets are a problem for everybody else. But, is he at 40 years old going to return to form? And the Dolphins, I just don't take seriously at all.
Well, 1-5 last year against teams with a winning record. The first time Tua wins a game when the temperature's below 45 degrees would be the first time he's ever done it. So, like, that playoff game last year was such a joke, man. I bet a lot of money on the Kansas City Chiefs to win that one.
So it's funny. You probably caught this. Mike McDaniel was on, I think it was Pat McAfee show recently, and he was talking about, they didn't do enough down the stretch to host a playoff game. And he's right. And that's a fair point. But then he also was like, and the weather, it's not that cold in Miami, those are all facts. But Kansas City beat Miami in Germany in an indoor climate. Right. So let's not act like, if it was 70 degrees in Kansas City that day, that the Dolphins would have won that game. Kansas City was always going to beat the Dolphins. They went on to win the Super Bowl. Houston's the wild card. Everybody wants to crown them. And that's the team that I think by the time we get to the postseason, if you were to ask me, that might be my answer. But I want to see them go up against the Chiefs. I want to see what happens when C.J. Stroud, who's great, has real pressure and expectation, playing all these primetime games. Last year, they were on no standalone slots in the NFL, and nobody was expecting anything. There's something to be said when people expect you to go out and do something.
Right, and I also think, and look, the Texans had this great year last year, but they had a great win against the Bengals. They won the playoff game. They really didn't beat that many good teams if you look back on it. There were a lot of soft spots in the schedule. Give them credit; they took full advantage of it, and Stroud was awesome. But how do they react now when they have a first-place schedule? I mean, their gauntlet of quarterbacks they play this year. They play Mahomes, they play Lamar, they play Rodgers, they play Love, they play Prescott. Like they have a really hard schedule from. They play Tua. Like quarterback-wise, they basically Josh Allen. They face every good quarterback in the league.
What do you make of the South? Like because that division. To me, it's the Texans definitely. It should be the favorites. I expect them to win it, but the Colts are the wild card team to me
because we don't know what Richardson is.
We don't know what Richardson is, but I like the way the roster is assembled. I like their head coach. I think they got everything in place there in Indianapolis. People are selling stock on the Jags. I think Tennessee's going to be terrible. I'm not a Will Levis believer at all.
Big fan of his ex-girlfriend, I will say.
Yeah. Did you get the Mayo cologne? Did you buy some of that? Did you
no,
see
but
that?
When I was
sold out.
When I was still doing radio in Houston, you know how he likes mayo in his coffee. We did that bit on the air. I almost threw up.
I can't stand mayo on anything to begin with, let alone.
Are you a condiments guy in general?
No, my co-host on our show today was giving me a hard time because we were talking about having dinner here.
You like ketchup though, don't you?
I like ketchup, but not on steak or something. I'm not Patrick Mahomes ketchup on a steak guy or anything. But no, I had baked potato with my butter only though. Butter only on a baked potato. He thought that was bizarre.
Yeah.
Look,
no sour
I don't
cream,
like
nothing.
Sour cream. So I am a picky eater. You know this from knowing each other for a while.
You're a big Chipotle guy like me.
So. Not anymore.
No, whoa, hold on.
Breaking news. Go ahead and put the breaking news flash
up. Let me see if I have a breaking news sounder here on this. Oh, my goodness.
Not anymore. It's not even all they're doing. So, I used to be eating one, I got burnt out on it, I think. And then in December, I had COVID, and I can't smell anything to this day. So,
really?
I still can't smell.
Wow, that's
impacted.
terrible, man.
So I know. So some food,
no scent at all. It's very faint.
Nothing, dude. Nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So that would just affect me, just being hungry. Because part of being hungry is you smell food and it triggers that reaction.
Yeah, and there's some there's some foods that you still have no problem with tasting, and there's some where it's just too textured based, and so you don't like it at all. But yeah, it sucks, man. You don't realize until you lose your sense of smell. You're like, oh, that's not a big deal. No, it stinks. It's terrible.
I don't even know what we were talking about. I think we're talking about
the Texans.
Oh yeah, Will
Levis and Mayo. No, I was just saying that I think the Colts are the kind of my sleeper team, maybe to surprise people in the AFC this year.
That's a good pick. Now we're presented by BetUS here. Patrick Mahomes obviously is the favorite when it comes to MVP odds here, but I want your take, and you can bet on these exact odds by using my link in the description. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the show. Of the MVP odds here, these are just the top four. Mahomes the favorite, plus 500. Josh Allen, plus 800. Plus 900 for Burrow, tied with C.J. Stroud, plus 900. If not Mahomes, who would you bet on out of these options?
Well, I'll tell you, Jake, I don't think you should bet on Mahomes this year. That's coming from someone in Kansas City, and not a popular opinion there when I've brought that up. I don't like his case because
voter fatigue.
People expect it. People expect you to dominate the West. You're going for a three-peat. Your offensive weapons are better this year. A couple of years ago when he won it, no Tyreek Hill, there was narrative on his side. It's why I actually really like Josh Allen at 8-1 because I think people have jumped ship a little bit too early, as I said, on the Bills.
Yeah, if they win the division, I could see the narrative being, well, look without Diggs, he won the MVP.
That's exactly what I'm kind of banking on. So he's one player that I have a ticket on. Further down the board, I mean, I get the CJ Stroud stuff. I just usually kind of zig where others. I like to zag where people, zig, whatever the saying is. I just
zig and zag.
Thank you. Yeah, I like to zag in that point because everybody's on CJ Stroud. Everybody's on him. I get it. He had a record-setting rookie season, but just not. I don't think there's good enough value at 9-1 right now on a CJ Stroud. Joe Burrow at 9-1. I'd rather bet him on comeback player of the year. It's him or Rodgers to me are going to win comeback player of the year.
There's a lot of good comeback player of the year candidates too, because so many guys got hurt last year.
I think it's got to be a quarterback though, right? Don't you agree? There's some wide receivers in there, like Deshaun Watson. Why he's even eligible for comeback player of the year is funny to me, but he sucks. He's done. We agree. Deshaun Watson's not winning any award.
It's crazy because you and I were in Houston when he was still one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and just you talk about the Browns, they basically have everything you need to win besides the biggest question in the sport, what their quarterback situation is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think Kevin Stefanski's done a great job in Cleveland. In overall, that organization has been in better position than I ever thought they would, but. That contract and the way their quarterback's set up right now, not to mention what's his name is coming back. Chubb is who knows what to expect coming back from an injury. Like that's a complete wild card. And they don't have Kareem Hunt there anymore.
Yep. Very true. Final question about the Chiefs for you, Gold. If they're in the Super Bowl, who's the team you don't want to play? Who's the best team in the NFC?
That's a great. So my here at Circa, you can do the exacta bets. I actually think they're going to play the 49ers again in the Super Bowl. I think, and I know people watching
again
people
for the third time.
Like, I don't need to see that. We kind of know how this goes. I don't need to see that again. I still think there's a chance we get there. So, team you don't want to see. Look, all the better quarterbacks are in the AFC,
right?
So once you get to the NFC, of course, whoever's in the Super Bowl is a very good team. You don't get the Super Bowl without being a good team. But I don't think there's anybody, and I would say this for Cincinnati or the Jets, whoever on the AFC gets the Super Bowl. I don't think there's a team you should fear. I think Kyle Shanahan, though, is one of the best coaches in football. So coach-wise, I would prefer not being the 49ers just because I think he is that good of a coach. Other team in the NFC, I mean, if the Rams got there for the same reason, they'd be scary because Sean McVay, I view very highly.
And they got the quarterback who's already won before.
He's already won it. If Stafford stays healthy, I do think the Rams are going to be right in the mix in the NFC. I know everybody looks at the Niners, but if Stafford's healthy, I think the Rams could be positioned pretty well with a healthy Stafford, Puka, and Cooper. Combine the two, might as well be the two. I mean, that's the wide receiver duo. That's for sure.
That works. He's Alex Gold. He does radio at Kansas City. Where can people specifically find you, though, Alex?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter and X at Alex Gold and over at 96.5 The Fan.
This has been the Jake Asman Football Show. Once again, thanks to BetUS for making it possible. If you're interested in more content throughout the week here at Radio Row at Circa Las Vegas, make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman channel here. We are approaching 40,000 subscribers, so hopefully football fans, we can get there by week 1 of the NFL season, which 2 weeks from tonight, Kansas City and the Ravens, right? Start it all.
3-point favorites in that game. We know they lost the opener last year. It's looking more and more like Rashee Rice is not going to get suspended.
What's Taylor Swift wearing to the game? Do you know?
I think
you guys
she's
cover that on your show?
Dude,
you got to be sick of the Swift stuff, right?
I'm not sick of it. I think it's fun. I don't know why it irritates so many people. I'll be honest. Like, it's fun. Why does it matter? She's not the one asking him to show her on TV all the time. So we've enjoyed it in KC, but you're correct. I have talked more about Taylor Swift. I know her concert schedule more than I ever thought. I mean, it's insane. I think she might be on tour still, so I don't know if she'll be there.
Oh, come on.
2 weeks.
She'll be there.
We'll see, man.
For banner night, ring night?
Banner night's a big night, but Taylor
maybe she's getting a different kind of ring soon.
I think by the end of the season.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think by the end of the season.
Does he retire if they three-peat?
That's a great. So we've had this debate in Kansas City. His contract's basically for 2 more years. I think so, but at the same time, then wouldn't you say, well, then why aren't you going for 4?
Right. At that point, why stop?
Like, I think he will actually perform at a very high level this year. I know there's a stretch where people thought he was done. He still ended up 16 yards short of 1,000. So I think Kelsey, healthy heading into the season, will bounce back, and people will get Kelsey fatigue even more than they already have because he's got an FX show coming out this fall. He's got the Are You Smarter Than a Celebrity show coming out on Prime, and he's going to be in the new Happy Gilmore 2 cameo. So,
that's the most impressive thing that you just said there.
Happy Gilmore 2, man.
Doesn't like it.
We didn't even. Next time I'll have to tell you about my movie career that just started.
I meant to ask you about this. We'll save it for another episode.
There we go.
He's Alex Gold. My name is Jake Asman. This has been the Jake Asman Football Show presented by my friends at BetUS Sportsbook. Folks, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like the video, and we will talk to you soon live in Vegas. Once again, he's Alex. I'm Jake. Thanks for watching. This has been the Jake Asman Football Show.
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.